They called him Antares de la Luz. He said he was not of this world, a cosmic being sent to save a chosen few before the apocalypse. But behind the ayahuasca, the yoga, and the light language rituals, something darker was growing. A leader obsessed with control. A group convinced they were humanity's last hope. And a baby, newborn, innocent, marked for death. This isn't just a story of belief gone too far. It's a story of manipulation, fear, prophecy, and fire. This is the story of the cult of Antares de la Luz. The cult of Antares de la Luz wasn't big, it wasn't public, it wasn't even originally considered dangerous. Its members were just 12 people, mostly young adults in their 20s and 30s. Some were former students, some were professionals, some had children of their own. But when they gathered in the rural hills outside of Coligay, Chile, they left everything behind. Jobs, families, old identities. They were there for one man, Ramon Castillo Gaete, a man who said he was divine. He renamed himself Antares de la Luz, Antares of the Light, the brightest star in the Scorpio constellation. He said he had been chosen by a galactic council to save humanity from a coming cataclysm, but only if his followers purified their bodies, cleared their spirits, and obeyed him completely. That meant no meat, no soap, no medications, no questions. Their days were spent in meditations, drug rituals, and sacred sex rites, all directed by Antares. He alone determined who was clean, who was ready, who was worthy. And when one of his followers became pregnant with his child, he claimed something had gone wrong. The baby, he said, was not worthy. It was not a child of light. It was the Antichrist. Before all this, Ramon Castillo was a music student in Santiago. He studied education, played instruments. He wasn't a criminal. He was charismatic, smart, even kind. But in the early 2000s, he changed. He abandoned his studies, started traveling, and fell deep into fringe spirituality. New Age mysticism, energy healing, astral projection. He consumed it all. Then he began building something of his own. When he returned to Chile, he spoke of cosmic alignments, spiritual portals, and a coming apocalypse. He began recruiting, slowly, intentionally, targeting those already seeking something more. One of the first to join was Natalia Guerra, a young, devoted follower who believed Antares was more than a prophet. She believed he was a being from another dimension. Other followers included Emiliano Rojes, who would later serve as the group's midwife and ritual facilitator, and Carolina Vargas, who participated in the baby's birth. The group moved together to a small house in Coligay, far from the city. There, they began constructing their spiritual retreat, a place where the apocalypse could be faced head-on. But as time passed, Antares became more paranoid. He began referring to outside society as impure. He claimed that the baby Natalia was carrying would block their ascension, that it had been conceived during a moment of energetic vulnerability, and was infected with dark matter. The only way to ensure the group's survival, he said, was to destroy the baby before the next full moon. In November 2012, Natalia gave birth to a baby boy. He wasn't named. He wasn't taken to a hospital. He was born in secret in a dimly lit room in the hills of Coligay, surrounded only by the cult. From the beginning, Antares refused to hold him. He told the group the child wasn't a soul. He was a dark entity in human disguise. A cosmic obstruction. A parasite sent to sabotage their ascension. If they didn't act, he warned, they'd be trapped on Earth forever, cut off from the portal. The group didn't question him. They were already deep in it. For nearly 40 days, they'd been purging, fasting, and drinking ayahuasca, a potent hallucinogen brewed from Amazonian vines. Antares said it was part of their cleansing, but the result was something else entirely. They'd stopped eating, slept in shifts. Some claimed they could see spirits. Others said they heard stars whispering. Reality blurred. And when Antares spoke, they didn't just listen. They believed. On the third night after the birth, the group gathered in the courtyard. They chanted, dressed in ceremonial robes, lit candles. Natalia, heavily drugged, lay silent nearby. She later told investigators she couldn't move or speak, but she could see everything. The baby, just 3 days old, was placed naked on a stone slab. Antares lifted him and threw him into the fire. Some members cried. Some chanted. No one stopped him. To them, this wasn't murder. It was sacrifice. A ritual to save the world. The cult might have gotten away with it. No one outside knew about the baby. The group lived far from neighbors. But one of the newer members, frightened and disturbed, broke. They contacted authorities anonymously, said there had been a birth and a fire, said a child had disappeared. By April 2013, Chilean police raided the property. What they found shocked the country. Blood-stained ceremonial garments, burnt remains in a pit, notebooks filled with prophetic writings, drawings of alien portals, and Antares' plans for world purification. 8 members were arrested immediately, but Antares, he had fled. He crossed into Peru using fake names and staying in hostels under different aliases. But after a week of pursuit, police located him in Cusco, hiding in an abandoned house. They never got to question him. On May 1st, 2013, Antares de la Luz was found hanging from a rafter, dead by suicide. Next to him was a small altar, a mirror, and several candles. His mission was over, but for the rest, the trials were just beginning. The court case was brutal. Chileans couldn't believe what they were hearing. Educated adults, former teachers, nurses, all testifying that they believed the baby was cosmically tainted, that they thought killing it was an act of spiritual courage, that they had seen Antares glow during rituals, that he spoke with interdimensional beings. The baby's mother, Natalia Guerra, was convicted of parricide. She claimed to be under the influence of both drugs and psychological control. Emiliano Rojas, the so-called midwife, received the same sentence. Others received lesser terms for complicity. But even with convictions, questions remained. How did this happen? How does someone go from yoga and meditation to burning a baby alive? Antares never gave answers, but his followers weren't monsters in the traditional sense. They were seekers, and that's what makes it more terrifying. Because this wasn't mass hysteria. It wasn't ancient folklore. It happened in 2012. cult of Antares de la Luz shows us something chilling. You don't need thousands of followers to start a cult. You don't need weapons, or fortresses, or funding. Sometimes all it takes is one man with a prophecy, and people who are desperate to believe. Thanks for watching Join or Die TV. Subscribe for more stories of cults, control, and the strange side of history. And let us know in the comments, what cult should we tell next?